You also got to represent the buyer on the purchase side as a broker and got to experience even more of the back and forth we're seeing with maybe what listing agents and sellers are doing or putting together for the benefit or lack thereof towards our buyer. Maybe you can start to speak on some challenges that we didn't just face on a loan side, but from an actual listing and buyer broker side of going back and forth and some of the negotiations you're seeing.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting transaction because it was technically the sale of a property and a business. But as we got into the details later on in the transaction, my client decided that she didn't want the business. It was like, just vacate the business and I will buy the real estate. So that in itself doesn't sound like a big deal. It sounds like it'd be easier, but there's so many moving parts to negotiating how to vacate the building. In this particular case, there were multiple clients in the building and things like that. So they had to empty those out and liability and things like that. But absolutely, there's a lot of very specific negotiations that had to happen, details of when you're going to be out and how you're going to be out and what liability and if it's going to happen by closing or they're going to stay in for some period of time after. And not only that, since we were doing the loan, it's like the lender has to be in on all of this and they have to approve the way all of these things are done. In our case, it worked out really well because the lender, I think, helped shield borrower from having more liability. They just had their in-house legal counsel that was able to help with that. But you're right. I mean, it's very difficult, especially when people are not following the contract, like you can't get amendments signed and so I think there's just a lot of really challenging things that happen. In this case, it was like somebody who was widowed, her husband had passed away, she's trying to get out of the business. So there's just a lot of really specific things that
Right.
were a lot more personal. Like it becomes personal when somebody's selling a business or shutting down a business and selling the property. It was a very emotional
Right.
transaction that like could not be handled with amendments and
Right.
just contract.
Right.
Um,
Well, you don't want the brokers to have to turn into this like adversarial relationship
no,
as opposed to a team cooperating. How are you going to transition this well for you on the seller side? How is the buyer going to be able to access it for whatever they're planning to do
yeah.
with their business? So it's a win-win without it becoming this total cage match.
Yeah, and it does kind of become a us against them, which is hard. Like it's a fine line to walk because you ultimately want to have a good relationship with the selling agent and work together as a team because that's the best way to get it closed, right? It just doesn't always happen that way. And in this one, we did have the construction aspect to it too. So it's like at the same time we're dealing with all of this, it's like bids, inspections, reports, contractors getting approved, insurances for the construction, all those things having to get like reviewed and things. So it was just a ton to get done. It was originally, I believe, a 90-day escrow and it turned into like a 5-month escrow risk.
Still recurring theme for our construction crumbers.
But yeah, construction just never happens the way you think it is.
Right.
And then to go into a purchase thinking you're going to have like some idea of plans and bids and cost and be ready to start work as soon as you close, that's a really tough ask.
Right. I think those have been our most intensive deals that we've been working on, whether it's SBA owner user or it's just straight construction, you adding ADUs, whatever type of project. Not only does it get extended, but maybe the depth of information and bids and everything that's needed before we can actually close just to get started on the project.
I can tell you perm finance is a walk up the park compared to any low problem having to do with construction. I mean, the amount of spreadsheets. I mean, I just get like my eyes start seeing size that is out there a while. It's like I can't even, I just have to take a break because you're right. In this particular case, we had to do projections for the business. My clients are not always, our clients are not always super tech savvy. So then I'm helping them draft these projections based on numbers we're working together on. The lenders might want to see things in a different format. For example, on our other construction loans, I'm putting together draw schedules of when you're going to request your draws and for what line items.
And getting that dollar amount right.
Getting the dollar amount right, calculating, negotiating your interest reserve. If maybe the lender's too heavy, to try to negotiate like as little cash to close as possible. All those things. I mean, construction in general it's its own beast. It's very, very labor intensive.
It makes us very excited for the takeout line.
Yeah, we got actually a lot of construction recently.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that amount of creativity and also just getting to see the projects that are coming to life because so many of, all the permanent financing that's trading and all the projects that are trading at one point were either built ground up or ADUs were added. It was turned into a commercial with the ADU bonus program, whatever. And when you see that on a daily basis, it's different than, oh, here's this triplex that's about to be 9 units now total, and we can assist with both instances. What's maybe something if someone's looking to do that, either they already have triplex, fourplex, they're going to use the AU bonus program, even though that's kind of fizzling a little bit. Is there still opportunity there, or is there still availability? I should even say in San Diego and greater across California.
There is, and I'm not getting into any of the laws that are changing at things, but let's just say somebody has an ADU project that they want to move forward with. I mean, I think the biggest hurdle right now is that our construction lenders only want to work with people who are experienced. So if you're lacking the experience, then you're probably going to have to go to a smaller lender who also wants experience. I mean, you're going to have to basically really sell yourself for somebody to take a gamble on you, essentially, because you don't have a track record.
Right.
Or get a partner who has a track record, and you're going to have to split the profits with that person, obviously. The trickier thing is actually getting the financing for those units. And then, you've got the people who have those really small ADU loans. I mean, you're going to end up going to some private money lender who does these little ADUs where you need like 100,000 or 200,000. Like, our lenders are not going to do a construction loan for that small. I mean, it's just so much work involved to do that. So on the bigger stuff, I mean, they definitely want the experience. And the same with the smaller stuff. Like a lot of the fix and flip lenders, you and I know, they want you to have completed X amount of projects within the last 2 years or 3 years or whatever. And so if you don't have that, it's kind of an automatic no. So what I've been seeing too is sometimes the partner of the GC. And that's probably your easiest bet if you've already built a relationship with this person, is to just partner with them on the seal. You basically get to ride on our coattails, like use their experience for qualifying. And then, you can get that first deal under your belt. And you probably not to do 2 or 3 of those before you can actually do one on your own.
Right. That kind of goes back, even in the past, we talked about building up not just your portfolio, but your experience treating real estate as a business. You've got to do some of the things in the beginning to just get the snowball rolling, which also allows some spreading of the risk so that you can get the experience without just being all in on one project, which happens to be your first project.
Yeah.
Which is usually trying to be really high leverage with limited cash reserves. Now you're all eggs in one basket as opposed to spreading partner. Let's have one work, snowball it, permanent financing. Maybe you're able to pull some cash out, work on the next project, and kind of start the ripple effect.
And the thing is, it's like people don't want to do that. But at the same time, you really have to think of it as like an apprenticeship that you're actually making money on. It's like most people that do these apprenticeships or your residency or things like this, you don't get paid for that.
Right.
But here you do. And so I know that it's disappointing because you're probably already calculating your dollars at the end of the project, which will be less inevitably either way. But at least now you're going to get the experience of a partner. You're going to gain the experience from that partner, and you can do a few deals, and then you're off to races on your own if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah. Getting paid to learn sounds a lot more attractive than
Yeah.
learning the hard way and paying.
Yes. Imagine going to college and getting paid. I mean, that would be a great deal.
There'd probably be a high success rate.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen creative on the construction side. When we go back to permanent apartments, commercial, retail, whatever that we're seeing on a regular basis, there's a little bit of like anticipation of this next declining interest rate season, which is exciting, but also leads towards hesitation. What's it going to do next week? What's it going to do this week? So maybe we can talk on a little bit of just like how to operate in a more optimistic thinking year ahead, season ahead, because so many loans that are coming due at the end of this year, end of 2026, everybody that refinanced in 2020, 2021, it's like, okay, what do we move now? Do we wait and see? Or are we positively optimistic moving forward and just, okay, here's our next game plan for the next 10 years?
Yeah, that's a moving target. And I feel like we've just been trying to help people balance the information. I mean, it's mainly like, hey, my rate's adjusting. Okay, well, what's it adjusting to? Is there a cap? I mean, I don't know. Let's look at your index. Let's look at the margin. Okay, the rate today would be X. Well, you have this rate cap. So now it's only going to be 6.5% instead of 7.25, like the index and the margin. So for rates at like 6 or 5.8, you might want to wait until next quarter because you're really not paying that much more on your rate right now. So it's really one of those dances that we're doing because we have like two buckets of clients, I feel like the ones who just want to refinance and they're not super active and they're not really looking to purchase anything. And then we have the ones who like want to be active and they're waiting. They're just on the sidelines and they're tired of waiting and they just want to be ready to like pounce on that deal when it comes. So I feel like those are two different people. So the one I would say probably wait, right? Like if you just want to refinance and set it, forget it. You don't want to pay fees twice in real years. So let's just stay in touch and see how it goes. And, I feel like at some point next year, it's going to be a good time to move forward. Like maybe in the first half, maybe around the middle of the year, but bro, let's just stay in touch. And then the other people, it's like, okay, well, let's look. Do we get a line of credit for now? And then you refinance when rates go down? Do we refinance now because it's just worth it for you to get the better deal? Let's weigh it out. What's your new payment with cash out? What's your new payment with a line of credit?
Yeah.